Lazy.
It always makes me laugh when it says that. I'm not sure it always used to say that, but anyway. Okay, I'm going to share screen then. What are we looking at here? Share. Teapots. So I've just got, what I've got here is, the Contemporary Ceramics Centre. It's a shop in hang on, I'm just gonna.
I don't know that, but the stuff looks amazing.
Why can't I see you? Can you see me?
I can see you.
Oh, I can't see you for some reason.
Oh, do you think it's because I wonder what I've done to my?
No, it must be me. Hang on.
Me with view.
Okay. All right, there we go. That's better. I can see you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the Contemporary Ceramic Centre is run by the Crafts Potters Association, and it's sort of opposite the British Museum in London. So are you a member of the CPA?
No.
Okay. They're the people that run the Ceramic Review. The CPA, Crafts Potters Association.
Oh, cool.
It's
I think I remember the lady when I signed up said about when I signed up for my ceramic review magazines at one of the clay shows, she said about the CPA.
Yeah, so there's like two levels of membership, and there's associate membership, which you can just pay a subscription for, and then there's professional membership, which you have to apply for, and you have to take your work up to London and they scrutinize it.
Oh God.
So I've never done that, but
I would have thought you'd have been in it. Too much of a faff to take stuff up.
Well, I don't. The trouble is, I think it's changed a little bit, but in the past they had a reputation for turning down people who were very good. And I know a number of people who were turned down on their first attempt, who were astonishingly good professional ceramic artists. And I just thought, I don't want to be turned down. I just, I didn't want to. I just thought, there was no reason for them to turn it down. Their work was really, really good, and they could do, the organisation could do with the membership, to be honest. So, I just thought, I don't want to be judged like that.
No.
By them, and also because my work's mixed media as well, I thought that they would find it a bit out there for them. But since they did the thing on me in Ceramic Review, I think that they probably would be receptive to me applying, but I don't feel I need to.
No.
The only real benefit is that you get to say CPA after your name, but the other thing is you have the potential to have your work shown at this Contemporary Ceramics Centre, the shop. But it doesn't mean that you definitely will be able to do that. But you can't have your work there if you're not a full member.
It sounds like a very British elitist kind of that kind that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Only in England.
Yeah, it is elitist, and the snobbery of it. I'm not. I just think, these days, things like Instagram have leveled the playing field so much that these kinds of old-fashioned bodies have become a bit irrelevant, really. But that's maybe just because I'm not a member. That I think that if I was a member, I might be more defensive of them. But I don't.
Record companies, and the Contemporary Ceramics Association. Being revolutionised by Instagram.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, I just, because they've got lots of teapots on their site, I thought I'd just show you this, because there's just like gazillion teapots. So
I love those, Elaine. There's some amazing ones. I love the
yeah.
handle one on the right. Trisha Tom has like done that really.
Yeah, that's yeah, see, some of the handles look really impractical, but are still very stylish. So yeah, this one, it looks but look at the price. You see, this is the kind of price you should be charging, because it takes so much effort.
Yeah.
But
It's a lovely teapot, and it is indicative of all the work that's gone into it, isn't it?
yeah. So this is porcelain, and it's obviously been reduction fired because it's got celadon
It's
glaze.
beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah,
I
it's
love the
very nice.
plate, that nice bluey, that lovely duck egg.
Yeah. So that's definitely a celadon glaze, that duck egg blue. So, and then the splashy markings will be a sort of tenmoku iron rich glaze.
Lovely.
So yeah, that's a nice one, but it doesn't look all that practical, that handle, I think.
No,
But
it doesn't, does it? Think moving down, there's a tubble teapot directly below it. Look.
yes.
One. Look at
Yeah.
the similarity isn't really there at all.
I think it is. I think your one is similar to this one. Yeah, they're very kind of like blobby, aren't they, Ruthan's teapots? But the speed in which they're made is quite exciting.
I think she broke her arm or wrist or something, so she throws with very wet clay.
Oh,
It was all to do with her breaking her wrist and
oh, okay.
throwing with super wet clay all at once, sort of,
All
which
right.
is fun.
Oh, that's interesting.
Mm.
Yeah, that's yeah. There were a couple of Ruthann teapots at Forest Row yesterday that I was looking at, and yeah, they've all got this spout with this bit of clay there. Is that to stop it drooping while it's still wet? Do you think that?
I think it must be. I think it is. And also, she throws the spout upside down, which is weird. The bit that you think is going to stick to the teapot ends up as the spout, and she cuts it and folds it over.
Oh, that's really interesting, isn't it? Yeah, I can't. It's very interesting, sort of trying to sort of dissect how people made them. But you've seen her do it, so
I might have a little video clip, and if I do, I'll share it to our WhatsApp group because I
yeah,
think I might have taken a bit of video of just between us. I think it's okay, isn't it? As long as it doesn't go any
yeah,
further.
yeah. I think so. I think so. But yeah, it's this, the softness. The softness of the clay really comes across, doesn't it?
Mm.
But how does she make the lid fit? Does she use calipers to measure the size of the lid, or?
I think she did measure the inside of the lid, and then just do that in one piece as well. I'll see if I can find the any of the little video clips of her throwing because it was fascinating to. It was interesting to see because she literally made it so fast all at once,
Yeah,
even the handle going on and everything. That one's got a side handle. The one she showed us, it went over the top.
right.
Oh, so the one that she showed us had the handle supported the spout and pulled it back to the back of the teapot.
Oh, okay, right. Yeah, I don't know if there's any. Yeah,
Yeah,
all the ones that are here are like that. But yeah, I like over the top handles. I think they look
yeah.
really nice.
I love the difference in styles and designs of a simple thing like a teapot. Is phenomenal, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, the difference between this one by Jeremy Stewart and this one by Richard Wilson, they're so different, aren't they?
Yeah.
Just in terms of, this is much more kind of this one is so fluid and kind of floppy and expressive, and this is the expressiveness is through the decoration on this one, isn't it? Although I quite like the little feet.
Yes. Yeah.
It's quite good. These ones are interesting. These ones here are clearly not thrown. They must be slab built.
Gosh, that's like that marbled clay, isn't it? That I've forgotten the name of. Oh, Nerikomi, that was it.
Nerikomi,
Wow.
yeah. It's yeah, so obviously different coloured clays then rolled out together and then slab built, and quite an interesting sort of open spout there.
It's very thin, isn't it, as well, the clay, by the look of it.
Yeah, it does look thin. Yeah, yeah. Oh, it's interesting. And the lid is like a little cup.
Gosh,
That's
quite neat. Is that like a dual jug that fits inside?
I guess so, yeah, because I think this bit here, I don't know if you can you see my cursor kind of circling around it? Yeah, I think this is the lid, so that just slots in there. But yes, it could act like a little jug, couldn't it?
That's really different,
Oh,
isn't it?
except it couldn't be a jug because it's got a hole in it. Fair enough.
Maybe that's the tea leaves then. Maybe.
Maybe. Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, I quite like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is my least favorite, these ones. They've got this silver handle, but to me it looks like it would be really uncomfortable to hold. But it's interesting. I don't know what you think.
Looks like the handle might come off while you were trying to pour it as well, which would be slightly worrying.
Yeah, you wouldn't want that.
No. Do you think it's clay and they've put a silver glaze on it?
No, I think it's actually silver. If we look at the description, it's a silver loop handle. I think it doesn't say. No, maybe you're right. Actually, it doesn't say that it's not metal.
Because I was wondering how they'd stick it on with the confidence of knowing that it's not going to
Yeah.
when you're pouring. It'd be.
Yes, it's interesting, isn't it? How oh.
Yeah, how they did
How
that.
have they done that? It's hard to see, isn't it?
Is that like the gallery that you were saying on the Betty ones you were doing, Elaine? It's that flared out bit.
Yeah, with well, yes. I mean, yeah. So we made this bit's for the flange. So we made these flanges to go inside, but we also had this pot looks like it doesn't have a gallery. No. So the lid just sits on the top of the pot rather than inset into the pot. But the flange will stop it from falling off. But it'd be nice to see one with a so this one I think was probably made the way that we were making them yesterday, because this has got more of a Betty teapot look to it. Yeah, okay, so this is what we were doing here. So there's a gallery there, and a flange here. So the pot itself, the lid rests inside the top lip of this gallery, and this bit corresponds to the inside. So you've got to do two measurements. You're measuring this bit here fitting inside this bit here, and then you measure this bit and make sure it fits into the inner circle. Right. So it's slightly more complicated than just a lid that just fits into one shape.
That's lovely, isn't it? It's traditional, and it looks like you want to hold it because it's very cozy looking. The glaze, isn't it? I like.
Yeah, I think it's lovely. I think again reduction fired, but it's a really lovely glaze, isn't it? That sort of green and brown. and the little markings here that have kind of accentuated the glaze pooling in there.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's really nice, isn't it?
Lovely. It's a very cute little teapot. It reminds you of something. It's a very nice take on the brown ones the traditional brown ones that you think about, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So last week we looked at a little bit at Walter Keeler. I talked about him, and so he uses extruded pieces quite a lot. So the handle and the sort of twiggy bits are all produced through an extruder.
That's bonkers, isn't it?
It is bonkers, yeah.
It kind of makes you wonder where the tea's going to come out, because you get all the holes.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be funny if it came out here, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Maybe it's a trick teapot. You think it's going to come out the end of the spout and it comes out all of
it could come out the handle up here.
Potentially it could do if it's extruded, couldn't it?
Yes. Yeah, no, that's quite interesting. Yeah.
You could actually pour 3 cups at a time with that.
Yes. Like that. Yeah. So yeah, again, this is that pot lid type though that we were doing yesterday, where there's a flange that goes inside the pot and the top of the lid rests below the surface of the top of the teapot.
I like that design of the lids. Is it that, because I normally do, when I've made a teapot, I've done the that style of lid and collar thing. How is it the depth of the flange? Is the collar bit that goes down? Is that the flange?
Yeah.
So the bit that goes down, is it how tall that is stops it falling out? So you want quite a good depth on that.
It doesn't have to be really tall. I think it just needs to be tall enough so that if you imagine it tipping up, that it's just going to stop that lid from just falling straight out.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be really deep, and this one only looks like it's about a centimetre or a bit deeper than a centimetre. Right. Hard to say, but because I don't know how big this whole thing is, but yeah, it doesn't have to be like really deep. Although, you know, we were talking yesterday and someone was saying that French teapots tend to have a very, very deep flange going, you know, almost right the way down. But
yeah. One thing I was going to ask you, Elaine, was with the spouts, it's quite interesting looking because that's obviously extruded.
Yeah.
I've heard potters talking about having to do some weird spiral on the spout for pouring.
What, to make the water spiral through, or to stop it twisting in the firing?
Yeah, something about that, twisting in the firing or something.
Okay. Yeah. So
I've never understood what they're talking about when they've said about it.
Okay. Well, shall I just stop sharing for a moment and then you can see me. If I don't know if I can pin. And hang on. There we are. So this is a spout that I threw on Sunday, and the thing is that when you've got it on the wheel, a different one. When you've got it on the wheel, it's going anti-clockwise. It's spinning round.
Yeah.
So all the time that you're throwing, you're basically winding the clay into an anti-clockwise direction. And then as it dries, it slowly unwinds itself, just a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit. So if you've got particularly, if you've got clay that's quite likely to warp, like porcelain or a not very grogged stoneware, which mine isn't, is very smooth, it can twist. So if you had a spout, it could, if you had it in a sort of particular sort of orientation, it could end up going slightly off where you put it in the firing because it unwinding itself. But the other thing that happens is the same thing happens for the pot. So you've thrown your pot, and it again, it's got that twisting going on with the clay. So if you attach, see if I can get it so that, so if you attach your spout to your pot, in the firing, it can twist, the pot itself can twist.
Oh golly.
So your spout could end up being off center to your, if you attach, say if you attach the spout and the handle directly opposite each other,
yeah,
there's a chance that they will twist around and you'll end up with a spout not opposite the handle.
Oh gosh.
So it's one of those things where you have to test your clay to see if it does it. So but if you haven't experienced it with your teapots, then it probably doesn't happen with the clay that you've used. But it's one of those things where it happens with some clays and not with others, and it happens with some throwers and not others. So it kind of depends on how vigorously you throw, I think, as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, so some potters, and I think Florian Gadsby does this, just applies his spout just slightly off center to the handle, so that the two are not quite opposite each other, and then when the pot sort of unwinds, they come back into alignment.
Gosh, that would be hard to gauge how much to do it, wouldn't it?
Yeah, very tricky. So yeah, so I think it's one of those things. I mean, we were talking about it yesterday. I think it's one of those things where you have to test it out and see whether it's likely to be something you're going to be affected by. But it's tough enough kind of assembling a teapot without thinking, oh, I need it to be slightly off center.
Oh, yeah. It takes
so much work.
Takes shrinkage rulers to a whole new level, doesn't it?
Yeah. I think I think what I saw when I saw Florian Gadsby talking about it, he had a pot, and which he drew a central line down the middle of it as part of the decoration, but he would find that with oval pots that it would end up just slightly off, so he had to draw the line slightly off. And I've noticed that he doesn't do the line anymore, so I think that
that was
given up on that as a thing.
He's so meticulous, isn't he, with everything that he does?
Oh my god, he's posted a video of him doing I think it's a half-hour video of him making a teapot from start to finish. It's worth a watch just because it's unbelievably detailed and meticulous. And I mean, I was almost comatose at the end of it because it was like, oh my god, I never want to make a teapot. And his voice, because he's recorded the audio describing what he's doing separately to the video, so it's just him reading out the instructions on what to do, and it's so monotonous. You want to slash your wrist at the end of it, but it's like, but it's worth watching if you're interested in teapots, because it's staggering how much detail he goes into in making the teapot.
Wow.
But yeah, so with mine, what I would be doing with this one is I'm going to be turning the base away. So I need this to sit inside a chuck. So I need a chuck that this is going to kind of fit into, because I don't want to put this somewhat delicate rim straight onto the wheel head. So I want it to sit in a chuck to be supported. Have you used chucks to do trimming?
I made a couple at Forest Road. I always get into a bit of a panicky state with chucks because I never quite know whether I sort of damp the chuck to give it a little bit of to stick to the pot, but I can never. I've got a little mini spirit level that I put on the base of the. If I'm doing a bottle, to try and get the bottle straight, and then when you start trimming, I often find it slips. They're quite tricky to use, aren't they?
They are, yeah. It was driving the students mad yesterday because you've got to center the chuck first, and then center the pot on the chuck, and you've no longer got that sense of a flat level. So you've got to make sure that the pot is sitting in the right place, but also level.
Yeah.
So you can end up doing, you've got all of this, and one of the students had a circular spirit level, so you could put it on the top and tell whether it was level. But then you become obsessive about trying to get that bubble just right in the middle. So
and then it can often be off center again by the time that you've got the spirit level right.
Yeah.
And the bubble in the middle, then the thing's off.
Yeah.
On the outside.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. That was the worst thing, but yeah. So I think particularly for a teapot, if you've got a fine rim up here in your gallery, you don't want to be risking putting that onto the wheel and then sort of putting lugs of clay around it to hold it in place. I mean, I guess if it's nice and sturdy, then you might not need to worry. But for this one, I'm probably going to turn it on a chuck to make the base.
Yeah.
But what I'm also going to do is try and get the base foot ring to mirror the gallery, so that it's the same depth and width that the gallery is, so that it has a sort of sense of symmetry.
Yeah.
So that was one of the things I was talking about.
That's really nice. Is that sort of like would they do that with a moon jar as well?
Yeah.
So really nice moon jar. That's a beautiful shape.
Yeah, that's it's important to think about that when you've got a flange on not a flange, when you've got a gallery or a lip on the top, to mirror that on the base, because I think it just looks off balance if it's not the same or similar kind of depth and diameter. So that's important. And the other thing as well, and this is also good thinking for moon jars, is when I turn the foot ring, the center part here, I don't want it to be just flat. I want it to have a slight dome to it that mirrors this curve.
Oh, lovely.
You know what I mean? So that you have this sense of it still being a completely round pot, and the foot ring is almost like it's sat on top of it. Does that?
Lovely.
Does
Yeah.
So
yes, it's a sphere, but so you'll trim it so that you're kind of going like deep and then more up. So so that it's like a
If I actually, I'll try and get a tea bowl where I've done that. Too small. No, I haven't got one that's the right thing, but it's sort of keeping that profile. It's only a little detail. It's just that bit in between the in the middle of the foot ring, but I think it just shows that kind of sense of appreciating the proportions of the pot, to have that little bit domed. So that's
Lovely. That's really nice. What are you going to do with the lid then? Are you going to have a curved lid as well? Or
I'd like to, yeah, I'd like to. Yeah, so I did lids two different ways. And so this one, I threw knob up,
nice.
and I've kept a bit of a curve there, and I can also trim that so that it really matches the pot, because at the moment it's just a sort of rough approximation. But then I can turn it upside down once I've done this, and got this edge to fit nicely inside the top of the teapot gallery. Then I can turn this bit so that I'll turn away the center here, so that I've got a flange that will fit inside the teapot.
Is that solid, Elaine?
Yeah, yeah. So that's all solid. So that was thrown off the hump, and I just sort of roughly shaped this part and then just cut it straight across so that I can turn the flange away to fit correctly.
Fantastic.
Whereas this one here was thrown this way up, but it will be like this. So I will turn. So this bit should fit the teapot in theory. Yeah. So that should fit in, and this bit would fit in below the top gallery, and this bit to go inside the teapot, and then I'll turn this part away to become the knob for the teapot. So there's two different ways of doing the lid, and I think on balance this one actually is a better way to do it, because with this one I've potentially got to turn both sides of it, because I've got to turn this to create the knob, but I've also got to maybe refine this so that it fits properly if it's not quite right. So
it's really back to front thinking about lids, isn't it? And how, yeah, makes your brain hurt a bit thinking about how to.
Oh yeah, it really does. It really does. And yeah, and then trying to kind of get that spout just the right shape and just the right size. And like you said earlier, you want it to be sort of level with the top of where you're going to pour the water up to. Yeah. So with this one, the water won't go up to here. It will, you know, probably you'd pour it up to here maximum. But
yeah.
So I can have my spout, you know, that sort of height.
Yeah, without it tipping out.
Yeah, but you've got to get the size right, and that's a really tricky thing. So we spent a lot of time with the students, sort of, you know, cutting it down, because we'd all, me included, thrown the spouts too big, so that we had enough to work with. So this one here is way too big to go on the teapot, but I've got some room to play with.
And another thing I've heard is when you're using the fettling knife to cut the teapot spout to fit the pot, is to put the fettling knife through both sides and do it at the same time rather than do it independently. Was how Roberto, the Sicilian potter at Gagliano's, I made a wedding present for somebody, and he said to hold it, look at the angle of the body of the pot, and then push your fettling knife through the front and the back at the same time, so that you get a simultaneous cut.
Oh, okay, right, yes. Yeah. So cutting, sort of slicing through all the way through that size, rather than taking a knife round like that. Yeah, okay, yeah. I was using a craft knife to do the cutting, so that's got quite a small blade, so I wouldn't have been able to do that. But that's a good point. You could actually use quite a long bladed thing, like maybe a hacksaw blade to
Yeah,
slice through all the way. Yeah.
the same. Because I've done. Sometimes you end up with them looking different on each side when you're first making them. They look a bit.
Mm.
Um, you try and get. So it was quite a good tip to push through and go.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's interesting how everyone does things slightly differently, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
The other thing I found was quite a useful tip for the students was after attaching the spout to it, I then put a pin tool through here all the way down, so that I basically made lots of little dots against the clay here, so that when I took it away, I could see where I needed to make the holes.
That's a good idea because it's sometimes hit and miss, isn't it? To know.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I can just demo it quickly, maybe. Although I haven't fixed this on, obviously, but if I have this sort of roughly positioned, so what I did was I sort of went in like this and just did lots of little rotated little dots, and then so when I take it away, I can see where I need to make the holes. So they're really just little markers for me to get an idea of where the main holes need to be.
Brilliant. That's a really good idea because sometimes you can't gauge the thickness or the angle of the clay of the cut spout, can you? And
No, it can be really difficult. And but the final thing I did was I threw the handle. So rather than doing a pulled handle, I had a strap handle that I made from throwing. So have you seen that done before? I threw a cylinder, and then I sort of created a bit of a curve on the very top of the cylinder, and then cut it off. So then I had a ring, and I let that go leather hard or cheese hard, obviously, and then cut it so that it then was a strap that I could then attach to the pot. So if I do share screen, I can maybe I'll just see if I can get to the picture of the actual one that I made. So I'll do share screen with photos.
I like that. That's lovely, Elaine. Gosh, that's really cool. I like the shape and everything. I love the idea of the thrown handle.
Oh, thank you. Well, yeah. So it was nice to be able to throw the whole pot, so it was all from the wheel, essentially. But yeah, so this was like most of the top of a cylinder, which I'd sort of formed the top into almost like a C shape.
Right.
If you can imagine that.
So you threw the cylinder on the way. A cylinder was it a wide cylinder or a thin cylinder that you threw?
It was. I mean, I don't know. It was about as wide as the pot, I guess. But I threw it enough that I could cut away some of the loop that I'd thrown. I could cut a section away so that I could make it the right size. If I draw a picture of what I threw.
So you're cutting horizontally to get the handle, not vertically.
Yeah, I'll do a little diagram I'm not very good at little diagrams, but I'll see. So, can you see that?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Actually, if I do stop share, then I can see myself.
Yeah.
So I threw a pot like this, and I made this sort of C shape at the top with it, and then I used a craft knife to cut that top section off.
Oh, cool.
So then this was then a loop that still had that kind of C cross section. So then I had this loop, and I just put it to one. I lifted it off. I used a heat gun to enable me to lift it off without it kind of being messy.
I see.
And then left that to one side, and then cut a section out.
Cool.
And then this bit I could then use as my handle.
Was it still able to be formed? Like, was it kind of not dry, too dry? It was
yeah, it still had a bit of give in it. It was my favorite state, cheese hard. So it wasn't fixed into that. So if I kind of moved it a bit like this, it wasn't going to crack. But it was soft enough to have a bit of movement, and for me to try it up against the pot and go, okay, yeah, need a bit more off that and cut a bit more out, and then kind of fix it nicely to the pot sides. But it needed to be not so soft that it was going to sag at the top. So while I was making it, this section here was a little soft, and it was starting to sag a little bit, but it held itself enough. And particularly once I fixed the top and bottom handle, once it was on there, then the sort of geometry of it kept its shape, so it stopped it from sort of sagging.
So the strength of that would be a lot better than rolling like a strap handle, wouldn't it? With it being thrown, it would be a lot more durable, wouldn't it?
Essentially, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think what I liked about it was it carried on that thrown aesthetic, rather than it being a pulled handle, which has a different look to it. Or being a hand rolled handle, which again, it can really show its colors as being hand rolled. I liked the fact that this was thrown, and I could, use that kind of. So this is sort of curved, not just in this direction, but also in its cross section.
Yeah.
So in cross section, you've got that sort of. I don't know, you can't see me now, but that sort of see sort of crescent moon shape. So that's what we did.
If you did mugs or something, you could even use the whole cylinder to keep going down, couldn't you? Maybe if you were doing matching cups, or if you wanted to do lots of handles, you could probably.
To make the handle for the cup, you could just throw the top of cut off the top of the cylinder and attach it to the side.
Keep going, because it's quite a handy way, isn't it? If you've got your cylinder, you could probably make multiple handles.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, that's right. Yeah, and I did that with the students. I made lots of different shapes.
Nice.
So not just that kind of crescent shape, but also like we did a straight one, and we did one where it was a bit more rounded. So so yeah, you can use exactly, keep going down. I didn't get what you mean, but now I do. Yeah, you can just use it to make lots of handles. Yeah.
Alternative to pulling can be a bit of a tedious thing.
Yeah. Well, I'm not a big fan of pulled handles, so I wanted to show them something different, but they really liked it as a technique.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I wouldn't mind trying that, because they always seem to be so chunky at the top, pulled handles, or it's hard to get uniformity with them as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Well, I think we probably have to stop there, but it's been nice. It's been really nice spending some time with you, Claire. I really enjoyed it.
Like having a private lesson.
Oh.
And I don't feel guilty about it. It's always worrying because you think you try not to talk too much or whatever. But yeah, no, it was
No,
really lovely to.
don't worry about that.
I love
No,
that
it's really...
teapots too. It's made me think about teapots again now. It's been ages since I made a teapot.
Yeah, me too.
Oh gosh, I wish I'd have been. I've got FOMO now from Forest Survey. That was as a day on. I'd have loved to have been there and done that.
Yeah,
Cool.
it was nice. It was very nice. But yeah. Oh well. Thank you for joining me, Claire.
Thank you for having me. Oh, it was really good. I really like that. It's made me feel. It's funny how these sessions make me feel more fired up to doing something because I get into a bit of a, as they said, as my American friends said, a bit of a funk where you kind of don't. I think I got to that point, so it's nice because it's inspirational. It makes me want to get into the shed again.
Oh, good.
So that was really nice. It's made me think about it all again and want to do things. So teapots.
Well, if you want to be put off making a teapot, watch Florian Gadsby's videos.
Because it'd be like watching paint dry because he's so precise about everything. He's amazingly talented, but his stuff is just perfect, isn't it?
Well, you can see the amount of work that he puts into it, but yeah.
I wonder what his kitchen cupboards look like inside.
Very tidy. Very tidy.
He probably has to have the labels facing one way or something. It's like, I don't know.
Oh,
anyway.
bless him.
Well, I look forward to Saturday.
Yes, Saturday. Yeah. And if anyone else watches this, I won't see you Saturday.
Yeah. Hope you have a good time, Jenny, on Friday because Jenny's going on Friday.
Oh yeah, it's a shame we're going to miss Jenny, but yeah. Okay, all right. Well, yeah. See you Saturday, Claire. Looking forward to it. Let me know if there's any hitch to that. But yeah, you've got We'll exchange contact details properly.
I'll WhatsApp you and everything. I'll check out signings and all that. So fantastic road trip.
Oh, great. Okay. Well, lovely to see you. I hope you get some rest today. Take care.
Yeah, actually, we've got a carpet shampooer, so that'll be we'll be shampooing carpets now.
Oh.
That noise, I might have to go outside.
Oh, I hope you get some rest between now and the weekend.
Thanks, Elaine.
All right. You take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.